Hello everybody. Oh, put the music too quiet. Hi everybody, welcome to CSS Capism. I'm Amit. Hi to everybody that is already here that sees us live. If you're here, say hi in the chat. I can see you. And hi to everybody that see this the recording later. So today we're gonna do something that I actually saw it like 3 minutes before last week's live. Maybe you hear my dogs drinking. It's making too noise. Pass. So let's go, let's see the screen. So I saw this animation by Akella last week, just before the stream, and really like the second I saw it, I was like, I need to recreate it in CSS. And this is amazing. Hats off to Akella. He made it with threejs, obviously. Not obviously, he made it with threejs. I'm going to try and do it with CSS. I'm not sure that we're going to go all the way to this final result, but I really do want to talk about the movement of the cube and how do you animate this kind of movements. So let's jump into the code. Actually, we're in CodePen now. I'm gonna share this URL in the chat. If you want to, you can actually follow along. Yeah, okay. So right now we don't have anything in the CodePen. We just have an empty scene, a simple reset. I just have things on the body to center it, perspective, overflow hidden, and things like that. Nothing really interesting. And the scene is obviously position relative because everything inside of the scene is going to be position absolute relative to the scene. So actually, let's start by adding a box to the scene. Simple box. So this box, and it's gonna be long, so I have a lot of notes in my site, so if you see me looking down, it's just for my notes. So let's see this box. It's obviously gonna be position absolute. We're gonna give it a width of 1 EM and a height of 1 EM, and I'm using EMs just because you can use you can change the size very easily. You just set the font size. So let's give it a background color, obviously of white. So this cube, so if I want to make this cube bigger, I can just set the font size to, let's say, 60 pixels. And now, maybe the 70, yeah, okay. And now the cube is bigger. Okay, now we want to move this cube to look something like this. So how are we going to do it? And I do have some visual aids. Let me just go to this camera. Okay, yeah. I have these. Okay, so let's build a wall. Okay, we're going to say that this is the wall, that the cube, and this is the cube that's going to climb on it. Okay, so we're going to start with actually a simple movement, a simpler movement. We just want the cube to climb up. So we just want it to rotate like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, very simple. So what do we need to animate? Obviously, we need to animate the rotation, right? Because it's rotating a full rotation, right? The second thing we need is the position. It starts here, it ends here. We need to animate the position. Okay, but the third thing that we need to animate is the pivot point, because in the first step, it's rotating around this pivot point, but in the second point is around this pivot point, and then it's on that pivot point, and so on and so on. So we need to animate the pivot point. And I actually tried going down this rabbit hole of animating animating the transform origin, and you can do it. I actually I've done a simple example. Let's zoom in. Yeah, so here it's actually it really does matter because the pivot point starts at one of the points of the square, and then it moves to the middle of the square. So I really need to animate the pivot point. So this is how I did it here. But what we're going to do in our animation actually is I haven't posted this. I'm going to post it later on today. But what we're going to do in our animation is we're going to cheat. Okay. So what we're gonna do for each rotation, at least at the beginning, we're gonna change it on. So the first rotation, it's very simple. We're just going to keep this pivot point of the top left, okay? And then on the second step, before the rotation, we're quickly going to rotate it back to 0 and translate it up one step, okay? So it would look like it's doing this step, but it's actually going to do 1 and then 2, okay? And then 3, 4, and so on and so on. So let's go to our code, and as I said, first of all, let's get rid of this zoom in, okay, and we're gonna need to animate a few things. Let's gonna add an animation. First, as I said, we're gonna keep the pivot point. The pivot point is the transform origin to top left. Oops, left. Okay, so let's write the animation, and we're going to have a few animations, as I said. The first thing we're going to animate is the rotation, okay? So let's call it box rotate. I'm going to say that it's 1 second, infinite, because I want it to loop infinitely. Yeah. And let's say that the animation is going to be easing out, so the rotation is going to be kind of more eased and not just linear. We can change it later on if you want. And the second animation, as I said, is going to be the box top. So I don't like to animate the top property normally because it's not really performant, but I'm not really animating that. I'm actually moving it a step every time. I'm not animating it like linearly. So this is going to be 4 seconds because we have 4 steps, as we said. Infinitely, I want to run all the way. And as I said, I don't want it to animate. I want it to be in steps because I want it to move instantly. So if I want to animate something instantly, I'm using steps, or in this case, I'm going to use step end. Okay, so let's write the keyframes for those. Let's start with the box rotate, because the box rotate is very simple. How's the music, by the way? Is it too loud? I hope it's not too loud. So the box rotate, instead of from and to, let's say that the starting position is rotate 0 turn. Well, we're going to use individual transform right now, and turn, I think it's easier. And then in 100%, 0.25, right? So now we can see, well, actually I need to be minus. We need to rotate to the other direction, right? Okay, this is kind of nice, but now I need to set the top for each time. So let's write the keyframes for box top. And so the starting position, obviously the top is going to be 0. And then we have 4 steps. Oops. So it's 25%, 50%, 75%, because I'm taking 100%, I divide it by 4, so this is it. So now the top is -1, now here's -2, and here's -3. So if I haven't left anything out, what have I left out? Oh, EM. We need to set EM. The reason I use EM, again, the height of the box is EM, so I'm using top 1 EM. I'm moving it up 1 size. So yeah, we can already see that it starts 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's why the way we did it. If you have something with more steps, we can have it like I don't know, 5 steps, and then it's 20, 40, 60, and we need actually another one of 80 to -4. And if you're doing this like this, so that the box is just moving on one direction, this is a great way of doing it, and it's pretty easy, and it's a great movement. But we can't actually use this exact method because we have a few problems. First of all, it's just because I don't want the animation to be like the same. Each step I don't want them to be the same time. I want some steps to be faster, some steps to be slower, and I have a tower, so I have a lot of columns, and I want them all to move independently. And here I can't do it, because if I'll change this to like 30%, so it would jump in the middle, like here, and it's not what I want. So this is one problem. And the second problem, if we'll go back to this camera, so after it goes up the wall, so the last step is actually not just a quarter of a turn, it's actually a half a turn. And then it actually stops there until it goes back down. And even the first step is not a quarter of a step, is also it's starting at a quarter before. So we really need to find a way to make this animation of the box rotate to sync up with this animation of the top. So how do we do it? We're actually going to make it by making something a bit simpler. Let's have two steps. Okay. So now I have just two steps, 0 and 50%, and now you can see that the box goes 1, 2. Okay, that's it. Now I want to break down this animation into 2 frames. So I'm actually going to do the box rotate. I'm going to make it 2 seconds, not just 1 second. And then, so the first thing I want is from 0. Now it needs to be from 0 to 50%. Okay, and then at 50%, it needs to be back at 0 and back rotating to minus 25. So if you see now, it doesn't work because it looks like this keyframe is just, it's not here because the same thing. But the keyframe is here. Actually, if we put like a background color, oops, let's do like a background color of red. So we can see now, yeah. So we can see that this works. Okay. So the keyframe is here. So the browser does get both values, both property, but it only treats this one. Why? Because we're not animating between those two values. And if we want to animate something instantly, how do we do it? As we said, with steps, with step end. So all we need to do is actually add an animation timing function of step end. And now, yep, 1, 2, now it would work. And the thing is that I can actually take this 50% now, okay, and I can change it to, let's say, 20%, okay? So now the first step is going to be 20%, and the second step is going to be 80%. Now I can set each one of those steps individually. And I can actually add, yeah, let's take this, let's say now 40. So now I can add here another step of 40. So again, the first 2 steps is going to be faster, the third step is going to be longer. So in our animation, we actually need 6 steps. So let's add those steps, but we're going to make it like this is going to be 5. I'm going to write it as fast as I can. This is 15. Oops. So this is 20, and this is going to be 25. So now we need to set this one is 5, 10, oops, 15, 20, and 25. Yeah, and let's make the animation much slower. Let's make it like 12 seconds. So, okay. So now we have the first step one, the first... oh, I haven't changed this. 3, 4, 5. And now it's supposed to work. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. And then it stops. It doesn't stop. It does this this animation very, very, very slowly. So we need to add something. Let's make this one actually, we don't, do we need this one? Because I want the last one to have a half a turn more. So let's, give me a second to look at what I did here. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6. So let's make the 6 also 30% and then 100. So now it's going to actually stop. Yeah. So now it's actually going to stop at minus 25. Yeah, so the first step, so now we can actually set this first step to 0.25, so it would actually start at the right position, right? Oops, what happened here? Let's save it. Hello in the chat. Yep, let's refresh the page. Yeah, okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's stop. But if you notice the first animation now actually starts from that side. Come on. Yeah, okay. So we want the last animation also to go all the way, not to minus 50, yeah, but to minus 5. So the last animation, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. It's gonna, and the 6th one is gonna be all the way over. And now the last thing that we need to do is to compensate on this height by adding a translate. So I'm gonna add another animation. We call it a box translate. This is the reason I didn't use translate and I used top and not translate, because I wanted to use translate in this animation. So 12 seconds. Actually, this 12 seconds really needs to be a variable by now. Duration 12 seconds. And this is going to be infinite, and the movement is going to be linear, because this is like the movement of the tower itself. So let's go and write the keyframes, box, not bot, box translate. So actually here I can use from translate 0. Yeah, because the starting point is 0 and the end, I'm actually compensating on the top, okay? So the end is gonna be 6 EMs. So now, if I haven't forgot anything, we have the movement, and then it rolls out, it ends, and goes down, 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 and yep, starts over. Now we have the basic movement, and I hope you followed along with these things. And again, the nice thing about it that I can actually set each one of those number individually, and I'm gonna set it individually later on. But first, let's add a few more boxes. Actually, let's create a column, and in that column, I'm gonna create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. Yeah, I don't know how many boxes he used. I have 6 dices here, so I'm gonna use 6 boxes. Yeah. Okay, so now we have all 6 boxes, obviously one on top of the other. We need to add a delay to each one of those animations. So let's add a simple loop for I from 0 to 6, because we have 6 boxes. Let's select each one of those boxes by using the nth child selector of I plus 1. And then we'll set a delay for each one of them. And we're going to set the delay for we're going to say duration divided by 6, because minus 6, because we have 6 elements, times I. So now we can actually use this variable here. Let's set it var delay. Let's paste it here and here. And if I haven't forgot anything, yeah, now we have like a column of boxes that animate on top of each other. That's kind of looks cool. We're still at the very, very beginning. There's a lot more work to do. First thing first, let's make these squares into actual boxes. I think this is... you know what? Actually, before we're going to make it boxes, let's start talking about randomization. Because later on I'm going to add more columns, obviously, and more boxes, and I want each of them to move independently. This is why it was very important to me to separate these keyframes. And I actually want to create these keyframes dynamically and randomly. So, and later on I'm going to do it individually for each one of those columns. But for now, let's do it for this one, and then we're going to add the columns. I think it's going to be easier. Yeah, so how are we going to do it? What we have here is actually there is one number that I forgot, that I haven't got into. The starting point. So the starting point here is always 0, but I actually can add, can say that the starting point would be 3%. Obviously I need this to be here as well. So now and let's change this to 7, I don't know. So now it actually starts, it waits like 3% of the time and then starts. And you can see the first two is obviously very, very fast. Oh, I haven't changed this one to 7. This is why the jump. So yeah, so the first two will be faster. But I am going to add these numbers so each one of those columns could wait for a different time. And so all of the numbers I have, except 0 and 100, which are constant, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 numbers, okay? So I actually need to set 7 variables. How do we do it? Let's come over here just above it. And we're going to start with this one, the first one. Let's say P, because %, why not? And P is, let's say, random 100 divided by 100. Because the random in CSS gives you an integer, and I want like a sub number, so a part of a number or a part of a %. So we're going to do the random 100 divided by 100. So I have a number between 0 and 1. And let's multiply it by, let's say, 5. Okay. So now I can take this P. Let's say this is P1, because we're going to use a few of them. And now I can do P1 here. And obviously I need to set the same thing here. Okay. Now, P2 is going to be a bit different because I want it to be, first of all, P1. I want it to add on P1 plus, and I want the minimum space between each keyframe to be, let's say, for example, let's say 2. Okay, and then plus, let's copy this. You know what, let's make this 4 and make this 4. Okay, let's make this 2. So now the P2 is somewhere between P1 plus 2 and P1 plus 4, okay, because I have this random of somewhere number between 0 and 2. So I can do the same thing, pretty much the same thing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and this needs to be 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And obviously I can now take these numbers and use them inside the keyframe. So this 7 is going to be P1. Oops. Let's make it like this, P1. This 10 is going to be P2. These 15 is going to be P3. The 20 is going to be P4. And the 25 is going to be P5. Am I missing something? I'm missing one. Do I only need 6? Or am I missing a step? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks okay. I guess I don't need this, the last one. I don't know why I put it here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so now it's random, and let's save it. And every time I'll refresh it, I will actually get a different paste of cubes. So, okay, this is one column. Let's start adding more columns. First thing first, let's add a transform to the scene because I want to see it like from a different direction, from different angle. First, let's add a rotate on the x-axis because I want to look on it from the top. So let's give it a, let's say, minus 30 degrees. And now, yeah, okay, so now you can see that the top is closer. But one more thing I want to do is add a rotate on the y-axis so we can look at it from the side. Minus 30 degrees seems nice. And yeah, okay, so now we can actually see it from the side and a bit from the top. And if we want to lower it down, we can actually the translate, instead of 0 to 6, we can say like 1 em to 7. So now it would be like a bit lower. I think it's going to be better. Maybe we're going to move it. Yeah, I don't know where I remembered I needed this one. Never mind. So let's add columns. I'm going to come here to the... before the columns, let's make those boxes 3D. Obviously, that's much more important. I'm gonna add 6 elements because the box is made out of 6 elements. I'm gonna use I elements in each one of these boxes. So this is I. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements in each box. So let's go beneath those keyframes. Yeah. So the I is obviously going to be position absolute. We're going to set inset of 0 because I want it to be in the same size as the div. Let's say that the background color is, let's say this kind of red, just so we can see it. Yeah, so let's start positioning each one of them. So the first one, nth child 1, the simplest one, I'm just going to push it forward. So I'm going to do transform of translate z. Translate z because I want to push it forward, and I'm going to push it forward half the size of the cube. The cube is 1 em, so it's 1.5 em. This is why I'm just using em. It's just a variable. It's very simple. So yeah, we can already see this the front side. The second one, I'm also going to push it forward, but before I'm going to push it forward, I'm actually going to rotate it 90 degrees on the y-axis, not on the y-axis. Yeah, so now I have one of the sides, and the third one is going to be just a little more rotation. The fourth one is a bit more, 270. So now, yeah, already starting to look like a cube. And the fifth is actually very similar, but I'm just going to rotate it on the x-axis. And the sixth, I just built so many cubes in my life, I'm just doing it automatically. So now I have cubes. We can now obviously get rid of this white background color, and let's change this one to white. And because right now, wait, yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look like cubes. The thing I like to do is add a box shadow of 0, 0, let's say 0.5 em and something like that. And I'm gonna use inset. So the shadow is gonna inset inside the H cube. So now we can see. Let's even make it like A. Yeah, so now we have cubes. Now we can add more columns. So let's come here to our HTML. I'm going to copy this column. And let's start with one side of this cube. So let's say, oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now I have 5 columns. And obviously they're all one on top of the other. So now I can create actually here, oops, yeah, right here above the box, column. So the column is obviously going to be also position absolute. Yeah, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a transform to each one of them, and I can't set like the left or the top because what I need to set is the z-axis. Okay, so I'm gonna translate each one of them on the z-axis, and I'm gonna set a variable of tz, and I'm gonna set this variable obviously inside a loop. I'm gonna copy this loop from here, but I only have 5, and I don't need this delay, so tz is gonna be, let's say IEM. Oops. Why doesn't it move? Oops, did I misspell? Yeah, okay, I misspelled the class name, sorry. Okay, so now I have 5 of them. Actually, let's make it I-2 because I want to shift it back to the center. Okay, so great, we have 5 columns, but now you can see the problem that I didn't want to get to. That all of those 5 columns, they move, the cubes move at the same time. The first one looks a bit fast. The first one looked a bit fast, so actually let's make the first one, because it's a longer movement, so let's make it like 4 and 4, and also the last one. Yeah, so now the first one won't jump. Still think like I missed something. Did I miss something? Anybody in the chat caught me missing something? Yeah, I missed this one. Okay, so this is actually needs to be... Yeah, I knew I needed this one. So this needs to be like 2. Oh, let's just delete this one. Okay, so this is 6 and this is 7. Oh, now it makes more sense. And now the first one won't jump. That actually looks worse. What am I missing? It's supposed to work. I know I'm missing something. Oh yeah, okay, so this is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, okay. I just skipped the first frame here, and this is why I didn't got the 7. Okay, so now it looks better, and I have all 7 in work. Great. I knew I missed something. It didn't look like smooth enough. Yeah, but okay. So back to our problem that all of those 5 elements, all 5 columns, just move the same side at the same time. So what we're gonna do is actually we're gonna take these all this random keyframes. Let's delete it from here. Let's cut it from here, and I'm actually going to create it right here inside of this loop of this inside of this column loop. So let's put it here. Yeah, I think I need. Let's just clean the code for a second. Just click tab, okay, and now the keyframe is not just box rotate. So let's actually add box rotate of I. Okay. Box rotate of I and box stop of I. So now we don't have any animation. We don't need the translate, by the way, because the translate is it's the same. Yeah, so now we need to take this animation from the box itself. We need to add this also here. So let's add a box, add this animation here. Oops. And then we can actually add this to the rotate and the top. And again, if I haven't forgot anything, yeah, so now each one of those columns has a different set of keyframes. So I'm actually creating a keyframe, different keyframes for each one of these columns, and this is why each one of those cubes just move independently. But what I can do, actually, this number, the starting number, I can actually make it much larger. Oh, I haven't changed this one. Back, let's make this. Oops. I changed it and I didn't change it back. So this is 4. And the first number can also be much, much bigger. Can be like even 20. So just set the delay. So the delay can be much bigger. It actually can be even like 50, I think. Maybe 50 is too much. Maybe let's change it to 40. Yeah, but now we have like this cube that, oh yeah, you see the height. Oh, it's way too much. Let's move it back to 4. Okay, so this is one side of this cube, and we're like 35 minutes in. So we can set, obviously the second side is quite easy. You just rotate it on 90 degrees, but the main problem is with the center of the cube. If you look at this animation, it's amazing. This is why I loved it so much. So the problem is that the cubes in the center of the cube, they need to move on 2 axes, not just up and down, but up and then right and then inside. And it's absolutely possible. You can do it with CSS. Only it would take us hours, and it's not for a live session. But if you want to do it, do it. But I actually I thought about taking it to a different direction, because I really like the movement of those cubes. But maybe we can take it to a different direction. So bear with me for a second. First thing first, let's change this white color. I don't like the white color. Let's change the background color to black. Maybe with some opacity, and we're gonna give it a border of 1 pixel, Dodger blue, solid. Yeah, okay, so this is maybe 2 pixels, be more upper alley, yeah. And actually we can set this Dodger blue to the box shadow itself, so the cubes would be a bit more bright. Come on, CodePen, refresh. Oh, it's not, I forgot, it's my fault, it's not CodePen. Yeah, and we can play around with let's make it a bit more, we can play around with the colors and add patterns or whatever, and it can take hours. But the next thing I want to add is actually I want to add a gap. If we're gonna change, let's make this like 60. So I want to add a small gap between each box, and I'm not. You can play around with the math and position each box differently, but I'm going to do it much easier, I think. Let's just add a gap variable. Oops, a gap variable, not pen. And I'm actually going to use this variable right here in the inset. So if I'm going to do variable gap, you can already, let's set it to let's say 10 pixels. So yeah, okay, so you can see that it actually made the eyes, the wrapping of the box smaller, because I've added an inset. So that's great, but all I need to do now is just remove this gap from each one of those 0.5. So I can actually do a calc of 0.5 minus var gap. Okay, so now you can see that one of them is already pressed in. Let's just click all of this and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yep, and now we have a gap between the boxes, but this is way too big of a gap. Let's make it 5 pixels. Maybe let's use EMs, maybe, because let's do 0.1 em. That's okay, that's kind of the gap I want, maybe even smaller, maybe even something like that, a very gentle gap. Second thing, let's add more columns, because we want to add more columns, right? Oops. So we have 5, right? So add 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, let's say 12 columns. Yep, now we have 12 columns, just under 100 lines, looks okay. And I want to position them, obviously. And I can position them like this, so I can say 1 to, oops, this is not the column, obviously. 1 to 12, we can say -6, yeah. So this is all of the columns, but I don't want them to be in a wall. I actually want to break this cubic pattern. So actually, let's comment these two out. What I'm gonna do, I'm actually add a transform of rotate. I'm gonna rotate each one of them on the y-axis, ry. So let's set this variable here, ry. And I'm gonna rotate each one. I have 12, so 360 degrees. 360 degrees divided by 12 times I. So each one of them actually rotates 30 degrees. And what have I forgot? Oops. Okay. This actually looks nice like this, but yeah, okay, so this is something. But now we need to translate it on the x-axis for him. And just today somebody asked me, how do I get like my values in the things I use? Oh, I see something very, very choppy. Why is it so choppy? Whoops. So the way I'm getting my values, I'm getting to a specific number. One way is obviously using some math or anything of something, and the other way is just going to the dev tools and just go to the number that you want to get to achieve, and just play around with it in the dev tools until you get the right number. So I want to get something like 2.8. I think it's nice. So all I need to do is write here 2.8. Let's delete these. We don't need these. And if I haven't forgotten anything, so there's something really, really choppy here. I'm not sure if it's just because I have a lot of things running. Let's just save it. Oops, this is not. Yeah, okay. I think just my computer is just in overload. But it looks okay. I do want to add one more thing, obviously, because I need to rotate this whole thing. So let's add here to the scene itself, let's add an animation of scene rotate, and it's be very, very slow, something like a whole minute. So let's say 60 seconds, infinite and linear. And the keyframes, somebody blamed me that I'm rotating things too much, but when you do things in 3D, you want them to rotate. I don't know, I think. Did I have a problem with the network? Yeah, it looks okay now. Yeah, it looks okay now. Okay, where was I? Oh, I was doing keyframes of scene rotate. So the from is, we're gonna copy this transform from here, but obviously we're gonna start at 0, and then we're gonna end up at one turn of 360 degrees. So now, yeah, actually now I do want to maybe play around with this the number with the initial delay. Maybe let's change it now to 40, because I do want the I want the difference to be higher than from one column to the other. Yeah, I think okay. So it's different from the original animation, obviously, but I think we got the general movement, and I actually kind of like it. I think it looks nice. If you have any idea of how to improve it, please let me know. But I think I'm gonna stop now. Oh, okay. One thing that we can do is actually just we don't need all of these keyframes because they're duplicates. So what we can do is actually just no, let's just copy this. We need to clean the code. So this is a 3, and this is 4, and this is 5, and this is 6. I just copy these ones instead of this. It just looks cleaner. Yep. Yeah, we don't need this. I think it looks okay. Again, if you have any ideas, hello Guzari. If you have any ideas how to improve it, I think send it to me. I think it looks great right now. And I'm gonna stop right here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being with me in this nice little build. Yeah, that's it. I think. Did a great job. Yeah, thank you. See you next time, guys. Bye for now.